Please be seated. Good morning, everyone. If you don't remember me, if you don't remember me, my name is Tim. I'm the Associate Pastor for Discipleship and Family Ministry. I'm thankful to be able to be here with you and open God's Word with you this morning. I thought I'd start out by telling you about the time I met my soulmate. She could sing. I was 14, and I had just come back from a missions trip. I had gone on a lot of missions trips as a teenager, numerous by the time that I was already 14, and I had come back from this missions trip to Peru, and I was in band practice. And you guys know those cartoons where like someone bakes like an apple pie or something, and you see like the smell like wafting, and it picks up like a character, and they kind of like, that was me. She could sing. She had the voice of an angel. It was like glass that if you would touch it, it would break. Oh, it was the best. And she was in band with me. And I found out later she was a missionary too. In fact, the same summer I went to Peru, she went there as well. And my favorite part is she was nice to me. I like it when people are nice to me. That's just, as a tip, just be nice to me, guys. Come on. And, did I mention? She had beautiful, beautiful red hair and green eyes. No, not Anna. This actually wasn't my soulmate. But I didn't know that at the time. Like that little hook. Craig's heard that story before, he's sick of it. So she wasn't my soulmate, but I didn't know that. See, I had been a part of ministries at that time. It was really big in youth ministry culture to tell kids not to date, but just to get ready for marriage. And I'm not sure all that is terrible. So at the age of 14, I thought I was ready to be married. I was excited. I was praying already for the Lord to bring me a wife. And sure enough, poof, there she was. And I was like so confident because I said to the Lord, I was like, Lord, this girl is perfect. She checks all the boxes. Thank you very much. But just, for formality, is it okay if I pursue this lady? And to my surprise and disappointment and frustration, the Lord said no. We argued about it a little bit, but I couldn't shake the sense of disapproval that was coming from the Lord. And so I felt like I was torn in two directions. One, everything in me, my heart, my gut, whatever other things, was pulling me. It was testifying that this woman was the one. And on the other side, God was like, but she's not, though. Thanks be to God that I did not pursue her. I did obey because time revealed that that lady wasn't the right choice for me. I can tell you more about that afterwards if you want to know. Yeah, dodged a bullet. And you guys also know the treasure that God gave me in my wife, who not only checks my boxes, but checks ones that I didn't even know were important at the time. But at the time of that decision, listening to Jesus, it wasn't easy. It wasn't obvious to me at that point that it was safe, that it was the right choice, what Jesus was telling me. And you might say, Tim, okay, that's puppy love. Yeah, it's puppy love, but it's real to the puppy. Yeah, that was good. I felt a painful tension in me between what my heart was screaming for, but yet what God was instructing me to do. Now, not every one of us has had a crush on a beautiful bass drummer in 9th grade, but all of us, everyone who's authentically living the Christian life, has experienced the crucible, the crushing, the stretching, the tearing conflict between what seems right and safe and comfortable and what God is telling us to do. It may not. Maybe you experienced a romantic relationship like mine where the heart said one thing but the Lord or his word said another, or it could show up in a lot of ways. Maybe pressure at work to do something that you know isn't right. Or maybe you've worked a double or a triple, you're on the couch and you hear Jesus' voice whisper, say, come, rest with me. And you're like, but I don't want to. Or maybe it's something like God commands you to forgive someone who doesn't deserve it. The Christian life is full of moments where we are called to listen to Jesus, even when it means uncertainty, pain or self-denial. But when we're in those moments, everything seems great, seems murky. How can we know that it's worth it to take the leap and listen to Jesus? Well, wouldn't you know it? Today's passage tells us a little bit about that. It ends in this culmination where the Father says from heaven, "This is my Son, the one whom I am chosen. Listen to him." But it's preceded by an intense revelation of who Jesus is. And we will see that when we are struggling with listening to Jesus in the face of uncertainty, pain, and self-denial, we can listen to Jesus with confidence because Jesus is worth listening to. Watch. 3 ways we can know from the passage Jesus is worth listening to. Here's the first one. Jesus is worth listening to because we could see in this passage of Transfiguration that he's validated by God and is the Son of God himself. We'll see that Jesus continues the work of the law and the prophets. Another way we know he's worth listening to. And the last one that we'll look at is we'll know that Jesus is worth listening to because he has accomplished a new and better exodus. That last one is the most fun, but hold your horses. Here's the first one. Jesus is worth listening to because he's validated by God and is the Son of God. Okay, so after Jesus ascends the mountain with Peter, James, and John for prayer, his face was altered and his robe became like lightning. That's actually the Greek word there is one that's used, the one that they would use to describe lightning. And so not only is this some like marvelous display of glory and wonder, it's also a callback to what we read today in Exodus. This is what would happen to Moses. His face would change as he met with God. I mean, think about it, what it was like to be, these early Hebrews. They're told by God, and they're afraid, so they're not going to try it, but they're told by God to stay far away from these meeting places that Moses met with him. But Moses was commanded to go in and meet with God as their intermediary. And when he would come out, he was glowing as a sign of God's glory and anointing. And that's not all that we see in this passage about Jesus. We see that this is a Trinitarian passage. It's a Trinitarian passage. It means that all 3 persons of the Trinity are showing up and their work is visible. Now, they're always working in tandem, but we see this here, just like we see in the baptism that's happened already. We see the Father speak, and he says, "This is my Son, whom I have chosen, listen to him." But we also see the Holy Spirit who shows up in verse 34. The Spirit is manifested as a cloud, so powerful, they're frightened. Now, you might say, okay, cool, big whoop, though. How does that help me in the point of decision-making? How does that help me listen to Jesus? Well, let's think about it this way. Next Sunday, you pick up your Smiley's coffee. You come into church, and everything is going as is normal. Matt gets up to preach, and the room fills with a thick and powerful cloud. Now, at first, you think it's the air conditioning again. But then you realize that Matt's face is changing. He's glowing, and not some like twilight glittering. He's glowing like lightning. His clothes are glowing too. And then the voice of God, and you know it because you feel it in your gut, the voice of God speaks to the whole room and says, "This is my chosen one. Listen to him." How would you respond to that? I mean, I'm pretty sure on the way out you'd be like, "I got to tithe more." But sorry, I didn't know if that was when it's going to work. And so I got to tithe more. And worth? Yeah. But no, if that happened, you would be like, I really got to listen to this guy. And then wouldn't his words trump any other voice in your life or even impulses? You would know that there's something special about this person. He is validated by God. It's God's chosen one. This is what's happening here in this passage in the face of the disciples. These signs and wonders testify that Jesus is validated by God, and it proves that he's worth listening to. Okay, so Jesus is validated by God. He's the Son of God. He's worth listening to. Here's another one. Jesus is worth listening to because he continues the work from the law and the prophets. Now, this one is easy to miss. right? Because we see Moses and Elijah and we're like, okay, Old Testament heroes. But there's a lot of Old Testament heroes that could have appeared there. We know death isn't a barrier for God. David, Abraham, Samuel, Rahab, Deborah, just to name a few, could have showed up. But there's a specific reason why Moses and Elijah showed up. Because like other Old Testament heroes, they wrestled with God's people. They spoke on behalf of God. They sought to lead them in obedience and faithfulness to God. And though it never really took in terms of obedience, God used them in mighty ways, in miracles, and disciplining Israel. But here's the thing. Moses and Elijah represent the law and the prophets. They represent God's work in teaching and wooing and wrestling with Israel. They represent the faithfulness of God's. Can you imagine being a disciple at this moment? You're napping, and then the light slams against your sour face, and right in front of you, Jesus, your rabbi, is shining lightning. And what's more, he's talking with Moses and Elijah, the heroes of your faith. Imagine what this would have meant to them. This is showing that the work of Jesus is a continuation of God's covenant faithfulness. It's showing that Jesus is a continuation of what God is doing when God did when he revealed himself to be slow to anger, abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness. His work is proceeding from that. It shows that his work is a continuation of God's correction, but also protection, mercy, and unmerited favor. Let's bring back to mind the times where it's difficult to listen to Jesus. How might it change your experience if in those moments you had in the forefront of your mind this idea? Like this bass drum girl. If I'm thinking, yeah, okay, I really want this, but the Lord is telling me this. If I remember, oh no, actually, God is giving me unmerited favor, just like he did with the people of Israel. The law and the prophets is a signpost to the character of God and the character of Jesus here. And it's another reason why we know that Jesus is worth listening to. He's worth listening to because he's validated by God, because we see his character. And here's the last one. Because Jesus accomplished a new and perfect exodus. Okay, this is a little bit confusing, so let me unpack this. So in verse 31, I use the NIV. What is the word that they use? The departure, right? So obviously the departure that they're talking about, just a little bit of context clues. We see that it's going to be obvious that it's actually about Jesus' death and resurrection. He's accomplishing a death and resurrection. But the Greek word that they use in there is unusual for death and resurrection, which is why they chose to translate it as departure. The Greek word they use is exodus, as in the exodus from Egypt. Could you imagine what it would have been like to hear this as a first century hearer, as a first century Jew? The Exodus was a work of God, where he delivered a people through the blood of a spotless lamb from an evil kingdom of oppression, from bondage and from death, and then adopted them as his people and brought them and built them into a holy nation of priests. Luke is telling us that the death and resurrection of Jesus accomplishes that same thing, but in a new and a better way. Because unlike the first Exodus, which was for one people, for one time in history, the new and perfect Exodus is for all people, for all time. Against the backdrop of this, doesn't our moments of indecision, our moments of tension seem small? Seem like nothing? Jesus is worth listening to because he's validated by and is the Son of God. Jesus is worth listening to because he continues the work of the law and the prophets, and he's worth listening to because he's accomplished a new and better Exodus. As I was finishing preparing this morning, or practicing rather, I just thought about this, like the moment where we're like, when we're having a hard time in obedience, a hard time listening. We're tempted by the things of this world. And that old hymn came to mind. Turn your eyes upon Jesus, look full in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace. I wonder if the author of that hymn had this passage in mind. The glory of Jesus coming from his face. Are you, in this season of your life, torn between a decision that you want, that feels right, that feels comfortable, that feels safe, that feels easier? Are you torn between something like that and the call of Jesus? If it is, what is it about that decision? Let's take a moment just to think. And if you're like, no, I never have these problems, first of all, repent, but also pray for your neighbor. So what is it about that decision? What are you longing for? What are you scared of? Let me urge you, in the light of Jesus' glory and grace, to listen to Jesus. Here's my last point. Many of you know that our church is ever growing. We're changing. We're in a season of trying to discern what our next steps are in terms of mission. We know these new apartment complexes are coming up. We know that the neighborhood needs the light of Christ. You know we're in this moment of growing and transforming. What would it be like if, despite our instincts, we made time to listen to Jesus about what he wants for us in ministry and mission? Let me give you some spoilers. First, here's what it would be like. Discomfort. Guys, all change is loss, all loss is pain. When we change to be more of what Jesus would want us to be, it will be uncomfortable. And there also, too, would be a cost of time and resources. But there will be fruit also. Changed hearts, healed families, new faces. But the best part, when we're working with Jesus and the will of Jesus, we get greater intimacy with him and with each other. Because when we listen to Jesus, we're listening to someone who's worth listening to. Let me pray for you guys. The Lord be with you. Jesus, help us to have courage to make unsafe choices when you call us to. Help us to have the versatility to lean into self-denial when you call us to. Help us to follow wherever you call. We pray these things in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.